Welcome. So I saw the requests in the messenger group, that you valued some of what we did in Wednesday's meeting, and you want more of the same, fortunately or unfortunately, which is up to you to determine which of those it is. This works a little differently than that. So you get what you get. Which is probably you've noticed is the nature of life. You think you have some experience and you say, oh, I want more of that. You have some other experience, I don't want any more of that. And then life gives you the experience that you need. So I'll repeat the phrase though. The phrase is absolute passivity. And of course we should be provocative, because how can we be absolutely passive when what is it that's absolutely passive? So let's take a look at that. So the tradition that phrase comes from, absolute passivity, is one of radical self-observation. So in following in the footsteps of that, let's do some radical self-observation. So start by choosing a posture. So what does that mean? How do we choose a posture? Can we even choose a posture? Do we even have it in us to choose a posture? Can you choose a posture? Let's find out. So see if you can close the eyes. Maybe you can do that much. Maybe not. If not, then don't worry about it. And see, are you actually capable of choosing a posture? I mean, not as some sort of intellectual masturbation exercise, but rather, can you actually just notice, just observe? So it's an invitation. It's real honesty. It's a new level of honesty. So you can see how all of the strategies that we've built up over a lifetime have all been really at the heart aimed at trying to avoid really seeing ourselves. Instead of really seeing ourselves, we try to invent ourselves as something better than what we fear we are. So here we're taking a different approach, which is to actually look. So just take a look. Can I choose this posture? Can I choose a posture? And see, what does that really mean? Am I even capable of that? And what would it mean? If you were capable of choosing a posture, what does that mean? And again, this is in the context of absolute passivity. So hopefully, maybe, you'll start to see how these are really pointing to the same thing. So choose a posture. Now you could just move on from that. You could say, okay, done. Take that one off. Done it. Chosen the posture. Okay, what's next? But not so fast. Really take a look. Have you succeeded? Have you really chosen the posture? How do you know? Now, I could ask the same basic question in another way. You've probably heard this one before. Who am I? Okay, so ask yourself that. Who am I? If you've ever played this game, then you probably gave up pretty quickly because you arrived at frustration. I don't know who I am. That's more like resignation. Frustration, you're like, I don't know who I am. So you arrive at one, you arrive at something, resignation or frustration or something, and you just give up there. You just say, I don't have time for this. I've got to do other things. So here, take a look. Who am I? And are you able to find the answer to that? Hopefully you can answer that one. No, you can't. You can't answer that. So with either of these invitations, either who am I? People want to quibble. They say, oh, I don't like who am I. I want what am I? Well, okay, fine. What am I? So now you get three options. What am I? Who am I? Or just choose a posture, but stay with that. Now, of course, you can't stay with that very long. Any one of them, you just start to blank out, daydream. So what does all of this point to? Can you see that it points to the just absolute failure, the absolute failure of self-effort. Through my own effort, no matter how disciplined I become, it has a limit. Now let's flip it around. So still the same invitation, still looking, still inquiring. So choose this, but this time let's stay with choosing a posture. So choose a posture. Choose this posture. Now, notice all of your failures to adequately choose the posture. I mean, let's be honest. You can't do it, can you? You can't let go all the way, and you can't seem to really be still because you're always moving somehow. Something. You're still making all these efforts to get it right, to fix it, to understand, to do something. And then if that falls away, then what happens is you just fall unconscious and start daydreaming. Now this sounds like bad news, maybe. But let's look at it in this inverted way, this way in which we've flipped it on its head. So now instead of every failure being a failure, let's let every failure be a revelation so that we can peer underneath every failing and discover the absolute passivity that's there. So you just notice that there's just constant failures, just this attempt, this strategy, that strategy, this non-strategy strategy, and on and on and on, constant. until and unless we go unconscious and start daydreaming, in which case we at some point wake up from that and we realize, oh God, I was daydreaming. What happened? Uh-oh, another failure. Can't let it go, can't get it right, can't stay with it, can't fix it, and can't help myself from trying to fix it. So let's see every failure. Just watch every failure and then notice that underneath every failure is this absolute passivity. So we're not seeking for absolute passivity. We're just noticing the absolute passivity as sort of a byproduct of noticing all of the failure. So just again, you're just trying to choose this posture. How do you know that you've done it? How have you succeeded in it? I mean, wouldn't you know that you succeeded when you get that just right feeling? And that's maintained forever and ever and ever, and you stay conscious and blissful. But you haven't achieved that, so there's just these constant fluctuations, constant failures, constant attempts. So what's different here? Well, in the past, the conditioning for us is to pin our hopes on these attempts. So all of the attempts to get it right, fix it, figure it out, understand it, do something, do nothing, all whatever, however we've understood it in the moment. We put all of our effort into that, and we hope that that is going to yield our imaginary ideal outcome forever and ever. So that actually takes us further and further and further away from this absolute passivity. And so we get taken for a ride, and at some point there's a crash, we fall off, and then we say, oh, now where am I? What's happening? What is this? Start all over again. Next strategy comes by, we latch onto that, off we go. Hope still fueling the whole thing. But here we're doing something different, which is we're observing all of the failures. So again, choose this posture. And then just notice every way in which you failed to do that. And don't you notice that your face tenses up again? And your tongue does something again. Your eyes are doing something again. Your throat is doing something again. Your shoulders can't stay relaxed, can they? Hands are probably doing something. There's always some tension there, some tension in the wrists. So you just notice all of the failures. And then notice that the failures, they resolve into something. But you can't say what that is. And then the next attempt starts to coalesce out of this nothingness soup. Some new thing starts to come together and rise up, and you don't even notice it until you do, and oh, there it is, another failure. So you're just doing your best to choose this posture, just to be here. All the things that I usually suggest. So you just try and do it. Just to try and receive the support. Do your very best to receive the support, to be here, be present, stay awake, rest deeply, Relax, soften, let go. What about the face? What's the face doing? What about the throat? What about the tongue? What about the shoulders? What about the wrists? What about the hands? Did you notice they just keep doing their thing? You can't actually just be here. Constant failures. So notice every failure. Of course, you'll fail at that too. You'll fail at noticing the failures. Just another failure. So notice the failures though, whatever you do notice. And then notice what happens. So there's this funny conditioning, and I think we all share it because it's animalistic. It's a shared inheritance. As soon as you're caught failing, caught deceiving, cheating, lying, sneaking, strategizing, you're caught in the act, and what do? You say, no, I'm not. And then you build on top of that more and more and more and more and more. And next thing you know, your shoulders up to your ear, tongue's pressing against the roof of your mouth, and your eyes are squeezed tight. So let's just cop to. Just notice the failure, and then notice that tendency to want to guard and protect, defend, say, no, not me. I'm not failing. I'm not a failure. And instead, just be willing to admit it. Yeah, I got caught. Got caught failing again. And then see that in that telling of the truth, what needs to be defended? It was just something. It was just some little tiny thing. Are you even sure it even happened? So you got caught failing, but then if you really are looking at it, so look at it. Now look at that failure. Look at the whatever failure you're noticing. Wherever you're gripping, tensing, armoring, protecting, thinking, worrying, figuring out, strategizing, daydreaming, zoning out, whatever. Just look at it and then find out, is it actually happening? Or are you just imagining it? Well, if you really want to get clear on that, then you got to notice that absolute passivity, because only that absolute passivity is capable of actually noticing. You got to let it resolve into the absolute passivity, so there's enough stillness and stability to just witness, to watch, to be observant. So you can be so certain that something's happening. You can have a whole story about it, you got a name for it. All the failures have names. Some of them have storylines, histories. So there's memories that arise, thoughts. You got this whole constellation, and now you're sure that's real. Now it's like that little piece of sand inside the oyster shell that forms the kernel, the seed of the pearl. That little thing, everything starts to build up around it. Now we're building our case. Oh, I'm sure it's real. Oh, look, I got all these memories. I can feel it. I know it's real. Oh, it's always going to be like this. It's always been like this. I'll never be able to get it right. But here we're just looking at it in the other way. So you just notice, okay, there you go. Got caught failing again. All right. So check the shoulders. What are they doing? Probably all out of whack. What about the wrists, the palms? See, my wrists were doing something. What about the thumbs? What do they do? Some say, no, not me. I'm not failing. But just let them be honest. It's like, oh, it's okay. It's okay, thumbs. It's okay to fail. In fact, just go ahead and fail all the way. Just let it go. It's like you've been. It's like those games in grade school, dodgeball or whatever. You're finally out. Oh, what a rest. Okay, just take a rest. You're out. You failed. Go take a rest. Thumbs can rest. You're out. You failed. What about the index fingers? Oh, they failed. They can rest. Well, you can go through the rest of them, can't you? Just go. You got those other fingers. Just go ahead and let them fail and rest too. Now check the thumbs again. They probably are doing something again. Of course, the face is probably doing something again, probably squeezed, doing all this concentration. You got to squeeze the head, squeeze the forehead, clench the jaw, because that seems to be necessary. So you just notice every failure, and then notice that the failures, I got a purpose. I got something I'm trying to achieve. You can't stop me. I got to keep doing it. But just say, yeah, shh. Just let yourself, you're out. You're out. Go take a rest. Now you might be daydreaming. Caught you failing again. It's okay. You're out. You just go take a rest. See, in the the game's all, just keep that going. Just keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Don't get out. Finally, you get out. Wow. Okay, now I can take a rest. Now you can take a rest and you can just observe. Now, you don't really care anymore, do you? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares which? It's just a game. Who cares what happens? This side wins, that side wins, whatever. Just, you're out. You're taking a rest. Of course, your parts of you are back in again, aren't they? So you just notice there's another failure. Oh, it got back in. Got back in. Got to win. So notice how unpleasant it is to have to win. It's pretty uptight, pretty stressful. So just again, let yourself you've been caught. You're out. Let that part just rest. And then just observe. Just notice what's happening and notice this absolute passivity. So you don't have to do the absolute passivity. It's not something you don't have to restrain your mind. You just notice it. Now notice that this absolute passivity, isn't this always here? So all this stuff that happens, all these things that are happening, going on, all the feelings, the thoughts, the sensations, all the ways you're failing in life, all the strategies that you need in order to fix your life, all of this stress and strain and struggle and worry and hiding and shaming and blaming and all the rest of it. What is that? You sure it's even happening? How do you know it's happening? Maybe you're daydreaming again. But are you sure? How do you know? So this absolute passivity, just notice that this is where everything goes when it's out. Sooner or later in the game, everyone's out. I mean, the game has to end. It can't go on forever. Another game will start up, but at some point, everyone's out. Then the game's over. So imagine for a moment now, the game's over. Everyone's out. Everyone's here at rest. And again, notice it's like there's a murmur happening, oh, let's play a new game. What game is it going to be? Who's going to be the leader? Who's going to be on what side? Oh, you going to choose me? Am I going to be on your side? Which team am I going to be in? Oh, is it going to be good? Am I going to be good at this one? Am I not going to be very good at this one? all this stuff starts up. But you can take a look and see where are you really? So do you have to be taken for a ride by every impulse, every strategy, every idea that's tossed out? Let's play this game. You have to be taken for a ride by that one? Notice this absolute passivity. Does it know what this is? Does it care what this is? Is it harmed by what's happening? Again, are you even sure that what's happening or what you think is happening is actually what's happening? You notice all of the failings again. So just notice what's happening in your face. Notice what's happening in the shoulders. Somewhere, something is uptight again, taking this very seriously, worried, stressful, straining, anxious, impatient, fearful. Something I've got to get, something I've got to figure out, something I have to attain, something I have to protect, something. It's never this, never this, never this, something. but observe carefully and see what is that. Notice how the strategies build on top of that, like that grain of sand inside the oyster shell, turning into the pearl. Everything just builds on top, layer after layer after layer, reaction to reaction to reaction to reaction. But bring it back. Just admit every failure. This one didn't do it. That's not going to do it. That's not going to do it. That's not going to do it. None of these things are going to do it. Nothing's going to succeed. None of these things are going to do it. All the way back to that primal agitation. It's just that sense of, ugh, something's not right. And then take a look and see, what is that? Are you sure that it's even actually there, that it's actually a thing? Or are you just imagining it? And could you let go of even that imagination? Well, you could. Will you? And you will. So then the only question is when? Why wait? Now, in this absolute passivity, what is not allowed to happen? So if you say, well, now I've brought it back to this primal agitation and I inquired into that and I saw that that's not even really happening, and I've released that imagination and I've done it now, and now there's just absolute passivity, and it's wonderful and blissful and peaceful and spacious and calm and lovely. And it must stay like this forever and ever and ever. Good luck. Good luck with that. So what can't happen here? So let's look. This absolute passivity, if the primal agitation that's just imagined is just imagined and it never was. Can you see that? It never was. It's just imagined. And then there's the layers of further imagination on top of that. Well, whatever happened? It's just absolute passivity. So what cannot happen? What's not allowed? So you say, oh, this can't happen, that can't happen. Well, now you're imagining all kinds of things that can't happen. And of course, the second you imagine something that can't happen, well, that creates this imaginary division, and it's that division casts a shadow. It's all imaginary, of course, but there it is. And now the very thing that you say can't happen, it's happening seemingly. Oh no, tsunami. So let's just let it happen, because tell the truth about it. Here you are, just absolute passivity, even though seemingly things are happening. So let those things seemingly happen. We don't need to try and stop them. So it's like we're watching the game. And maybe that game gets totally out of hand. Started out as a game of dodgeball. Now it's World War III because some kid took it too far. There's always somebody who takes it too far, too seriously. And then what? And then somebody else reacts to that. You're taking it too seriously. Now I'm taking it too seriously because you're taking it too seriously. That everybody's taking it up a notch and then up another notch and up another notch. But what's happening? Aren't you just watching? Aren't you just, you're out, aren't you? So just notice the palms, notice the wrists, notice the elbows and the shoulders. And notice the top of the head and the left ear and the right ear. And the nose. And the back of the head. Where the skull and the spine meet. Notice the point on the front of the skull that's, if you were to draw a line from that point on the back of the skull directly forward, where would that be? Where would that intersect the front of the skull? Imagine that. Imagine the point midway on that line, somewhere in the center of the skull. And you can notice you've got a left nostril and a right nostril. And you can be aware of the pit of the throat. You can be aware of the tongue. You can notice that the tongue has a tip and it's got a base of the tongue way back there in the back of the mouth, connecting into the throat all the way down into the throat. You can notice that the throat has an inside and an outside. You can notice that there's a left side to the neck and a right side to the neck. And you can notice that the left side of the neck connects to the left shoulder and the right side of the neck connects to the right shoulder. And so you can notice that the right side of the neck and the left side of the neck spread. And you can notice that there's a right shoulder blade and a left shoulder blade. And you can notice that you have a chest. And on the front of the chest, there's the sternum or the breastbone where the ribs come together. And so on the right side is the right side of the chest. Those are ribs. And on the left side is the left side of the chest, and there's ribs there too. And those ribs on the right side and the left side wrap around the sides, under the arms, all the way underneath the shoulder blades, and then they meet in the back at the spine. So now you're aware of that entire rib cage. So you notice that there are upper ribs and lower ribs, and that they wrap around on the right side and the left side, coming together at the breastbone in the front and the spine in the back. And then, of course, you could notice that the rib cage forms this cavity, call it the thoracic cavity. And inside of that, you notice there's lungs. So you can imagine the left lung and the right lung. and your heart is in there. So now you're aware of an awful lot. See if you can be aware of all of that at the same time. So you've got your head, top of the scalp, and the two ears, and the nose, and the two eyes. You got that point on the front of the skull, and that point on the back of the skull, and the point in the center of the head. You got a left nostril and a right nostril. You got a tongue. You've got the throat, the inside and the outside, and you've got your neck connecting down into the shoulders, down the arms, all the way down into the hands and fingers. And then you're aware of the ribs that wrap around the right side and the left side under the arms. You connect on the front side at the breastbone, and on the back side they connect at the spine. And then inside the ribs, inside that thoracic cavity, you've got the left lung and the right lung and the heart. So now you're aware of this entire upper body. And let's take a few moments to be aware of that entire upper body and how it's as if you have this heavy blanket that's comforting and wrapped around you that just gently encourages and weighs down the upper body so that it feels secure and supported as you start to notice your breath. And as you imagine that heavy, comforting blanket stabilizing and securing and encouraging your upper body to remain restful and heavy and relaxed, and you notice the breath, you may notice that you're more aware of your upper body connected to the lower body, so that you become aware that the ribs are connected to the spine, and the spine, of course, extends up to the head and also all the way down to the tailbone, which is between the two hemipelvises, the right side of the pelvis and the left side of the pelvis. So you can be aware of the structure of your skeletal system all the way from the top of the head all the way down to the base of the pelvis. And you can notice that as you breathe and you're aware of that sense of a heavy blanket over your upper body, that you start to be aware more and more of the spine, so that you're aware that the spine is there providing this literal backbone, a real backbone, honest to goodness backbone that is your connection from head to tail, so that you can really feel that as you're aware of the breath. And then maybe you notice that the abdomen is gently softened and relaxed so that it can accommodate the gentle movement of the breath. And it helps a lot if you let the face be soft. Of course, the face wants to always be doing stuff, so probably have to be aware of that over and over and over. And you can notice that in this space and in this, with this structure and support, that it's safe to allow your experiences. So whatever experiences occur, They come and go, they ebb and flow, they move through this space. And you remain watchful, observant, absolutely passive. So that anything and everything can arise and come and go. And so let's actually choose, let's make a commitment to ourselves a commitment to allow our experience and to remain truthful to this absolutely passive nature so that we can watch the game play out without needing to take it too seriously. To remember that all of these experiences are coming and going in my imagination. And it's safe to allow them without needing to react to them or try to fix them. And in this way, we can offer blessings in our lives and in our worlds, because we're doing so from a place of stability and rest. So from this stability and rest, just as lightly as possible, seeing that this is purely intention, requires no strain or effort or trying, doesn't require any particular visualization or anything, just a pure intention, just intend blessings for your inner body, for your inner experience, for your emotions, your thoughts. Bless your organs and all of your physical inner body for harmony and peace and health and well-being. Bless your home, your friends and family and loved ones. Bless your neighbors and all those who live near to you, and expand those blessings to this entire planet, from its core to the furthest outreaches of the atmosphere, to the sun and the moon and all of the planets, and to all of the galaxy and all galaxies, to all universes and all beings everywhere. And see how simple that is, how light it is, just that intention. And then know and trust that whatever occurs is for good, and that it is an expression of those blessings. One more time, become aware of your physical body. Scan the body from head to toe, from the top of the head, the forehead, the tongue, the throat, the ears, the neck, the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists, the hands and fingers, the chest and the upper back and the abdomen and the lower back, and the buttocks and the thighs and the knees and the lower legs and the tops of the feet and the toes and the ankles, the heels and the soles of the feet. And then be aware of your entire body and move your fingers. And know that as you are about to embark on the rest of your day or your evening and moving into the weekend, that you are truly safe, truly well, and when you're ready, you can slowly begin to open the eyes. As usual, please do so slowly so that you can easily or more smoothly integrate the inner discoveries into your outer experience. And for the benefit primarily of those who watch the recording on YouTube, please remember, this is true for everybody, but primarily for those who watch the recording, please remember to be very gentle with yourself. And please do remember the importance of knowing that all that happens is for good and part of the healing process. So the more you come to the stability, the really absolute stability of absolute passivity, the more can arise because there's less of the habits of suppression. So don't be surprised if things happen both inwardly and outwardly. Just know and trust that it's all for good. And if you find it to be uncomfortable, then take extra good care of yourself. Be sure to rest well, eat well, be aware of what you're believing, and just ask yourself if you really want to believe those things, and then you can utilize the insights that hopefully you've discovered today, which is an insight into what is the nature of belief. You can see that fundamentally the belief is this imagined agitation that you give reality to by saying it's real. But when you let it settle to that primal agitation, and then you look carefully and realize, what is that other than imagination? You've gotten to the root of the belief, and you just pluck it out. And that's all that's needed. And if another agitation appears, same thing. You just look and see, what is that? It's just a imagined subtle agitation. So I'm going to end the recording of the formal portion now.